Yeah, what can we do for Harry's birthday?
Well, you know how Combe got him? He had that picture of him made for his 50th,
Hmm.
with the hat and everything. I actually was just at a little toy convention and they had like a sequins artist. They like make pictures out of sequins. So I was like, we should give him the Harry versus Wild still and have him make a sequence picture out of that, because there's nothing Harry loves more than Harry.
Yeah, and the sequin really adds the flair, that Harry is known for. So
That's
I
true.
I really like that idea.
All right. And then I'll have to find a picture of you to also immortalize in sequence.
Well, I guess Harry's expecting it now that we're talking about it on the
Right.
podcast. He's
I'll
gonna
make,
be
yeah.
sitting at the summit, just waiting for his sequin mural to come in.
We'll make it giant. Well, I'll make sure that Wyatt edits this one and Harry never takes a look at it. I'd like to welcome to BeerNet Radio Justin Fisch, CEO of US Beverage, the 28-year-old sales and marketing company representing premium import, craft, cider, and specialty malt beverages. USB has been making moves lately, having acquired Uinta just 3 years ago. In this summer, they had a slew of announcements, from striking national sales partnerships with large craft brands like Rogue and Brooklyn Brewery to onboarding new spirits partners like Row 94 Bourbon by Dirk Bentley. Justin succeeds his father, Joseph Fisch Jr., who founded the company in 1997 as USB chief. So welcome, Justin.
Very much. It's great to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's just start off asking about, year-to-date highlights that you can share just about how the business is going. It has been a tough year for BevAlc, but I would assume in this environment, you have a lot of inbound interest, right, for things like outsourced sales. What can you share about what you guys are seeing?
It's been a difficult year for the industry, and I would echo that. That said, there's been a lot of great things happening with U.S. Beverage. Not only the partnerships that you listed, with Woodchuck Cider came in February, and then obviously in the last month, Brooklyn Brewing, which is a great brand that has us all very excited here. But in addition, our core portfolio is doing very well, particularly in the import space. Birra Moretti, as an example, we just completed our 36th straight month of growth, and year to date we're up, over 40%. So that's been a huge bright spot for us, and we've expanded that brand national. We've launched Draft, so a lot of great stuff happening there. Estrella Dom Dara, which is our gluten-free offering, is absolutely on fire. Number one imported gluten-free brand out there, growing at 25%. And then we've had great success with Erdinger as well, double-digit growth. That was a new partnership that we got into about 2 years ago. And then, other brands that are more sort of niche, like Dragon Stout, double-digit growth, and then Superior, another brand from Mexico for us that's doing extremely well. On the flip side, where craft is struggling, as we all know. But brands like Captain Lawrence for us and Uinta in particular are outpacing the trends in their home market. So, for me, looking outwardly into 2026, that gives me a lot of encouragement that our team, which has grown in size, particularly on the sales side, is making some progress out in the market. So.
Yeah. Interesting. What is your largest service cohort, I guess? Would it be the sales and marketing partnerships? Because you offer more than just
Yes.
that.
Yeah, so we call ourselves 360 degree, which we really are. Sales execution is that's what keeps the lights on,
Yeah.
right? So, our ability to manage, our distributor partners, which are the lifeblood for our business, of course. And then, up and down the street execution, like those are the critical pieces that for us to grow and for us to be successful, we have to win in those areas. And that's over 28 years, that's been our focus. Sales execution would be number one. I would say, right connected to that, 1B is, marketing and brand development, working with our partners to find a way to, speak from the shelf, and at the same time, which I think is incredibly critical these days, speak to the consumer, right? So brand building would be our, a significant competency for us. You can't have the sales execution without the brand building and the speaking to the consumer. And then obviously back office regulatory is a significant offering for us. And then I would say sort of what, as I call the fourth leg of the stool, is really co-packing, manufacturing. The acquisition of Uinta 3 years ago that you alluded to not only brought us an unbelievable leadership brand for the West Coast market, specifically in Utah, but it gave us a state-of-the-art brewery, which we have spent a fair amount of money in the last year or two on CapEx plans to bring that brewery from good to great. And now it's a hub for co-packing for the West Coast. And there's a tremendous amount of opportunity there for not only the brands that are in our portfolio if they want to produce there, but also external third party options as well.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And, one of my questions was whether you guys were still acquisitive in what acquiring a brand does for the platform. But obviously, for one thing, it offers capacity, right? What else? Are you guys still in the market to add to that footprint?
Yeah, I think we're, from the acquisition standpoint, we're always in the market. We're always listening to opportunities. I would say strategically right now, we've got a jewel in Uinta. So adding another sort of manufacturing plant may not be in the short-term plan because we've got a lot going on with Uinta. But acquiring brands, 100%, we look at a lot of great opportunities, but they have to make sense for our portfolio.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. One more quickie, and then I'll pass it on to Jordan because I know he has a lot of questions for you. The co-packing outlook right now. I mean, it's competitive because there's a lot of latent space, right? What are you guys seeing there?
I think it's in flux. I mean, I think we're in a good position. We have people knocking on our doors daily, particularly with our CapEx investments over the last couple of years. So I think there'll be more of that coming, and that could be a unfortunate situation as well. That means more breweries are shutting down their co-packing options or brewing. So for us, I think it's an opportunity. I think there's also an opportunity within the import space, frankly, with import brands thinking about local production, which has been more attractive. I think recently because of the tariff situation, as well as some of the ocean freight challenges that everyone was faced with in the past, call it 24 months.
Yeah, so your smaller imports like Birra Moretti or something like that. I mean, like Molson Coors brought Peroni over, right? So
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there for our existing brands, and then brands that are calling, looking to see if we'd have interest in taking them on as well. So I think for co-packers, I have a very positive outlook on that.
On the import front and tariff front, have you reached any sort of sense of stability on that, or is it still one thing one day, one thing the next day?
I would say for 9 months, it was sort of like a whack-a-mole situation where it was really, I mean, we represent brands from many different countries and different continents. So, each day there was a lot of uncertainty on what this meant, right, to our entire price structure. I think in the past 90 days, there's been a lot more clarity, which is great. And subsequently, we've been able to go out and sort of look at each brand, look at each market, and tweak our pricing if needed, or leave as is. So I feel good that there's certainty for now. I don't know what's around the corner, but thankfully it's not as sort of unknown and crazy as it was, call it 90 days ago.
Yeah. And then kind of jumping off pricing, your portfolio is mostly predominantly premium to high end. Do you have any value brands per se? And is that an area that you might be eyeing in light of this current macro environment?
It's a void in our portfolio for sure. I wouldn't say we have a value brand. I would say we have, from a pricing standpoint, a brand or two that may have that one step below. Um, Moosehead would be an example that is, slightly below some of our other more premium brands, but it's definitely a void. I agree with a lot of the industry leaders out there that say that there is an opportunity there to be successful. We just haven't had the opportunity with a brand that makes sense to get into that area yet.
Yeah. You mentioned your Mexican import doing really well. What have you seen with the Hispanic consumer this year? And, why do you think that brand might be doing better than, some of the others that seem to be impacted by what
Yeah.
everyone's talking about with the pressure on that consumer?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's I'll take the first part first. The Hispanic consumer, I think their frequency in shopping is not as frequent as it has been. Call it 12 months ago or even prior to that. Obviously, they're still consuming, but it's just their buying patterns are different. Superior has been a great success from us. Very small base. It's in a handful of markets. I think the appeal there is just consumers going out and just trying new items. We're finding that not only is it a Hispanic consumer picking up Superior, but it's also an Anglo consumer. Whereas our price can be slightly competitive compared to the market leaders, obviously. So it's a discovery brand. It's not in your face everywhere, and I think that discovery element has given it a bit of a jolt. And a lot of our marketing programs have been sort of under the radar, more executional, and I think it's paying dividends, and we're looking to expand that brand into other markets as well.
Yeah. Uh, One more, and I'll kick it back to Jen. But on the discoveries, on the discovery part, how do you find some of these lesser known imports? Do they come to you? Do you seek them out? How do those relationships kind of build?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, we're lucky to have tremendous partners. Heineken is one of our partners in the sense that they own a handful of brands that are outside of the Heineken USA network. So they're bringing us great leadership brands many times. Superior is a great example of that. Birra Moretti is a great example. So our criteria for adding to our portfolio is pretty rock solid. We vet every brand extensively. We look for brands that fill a niche, and that could be from a country of origin on the import side, or it could be on the craft side on a style basis, right? So the last thing we want is to have a portfolio where all of our brands are tripping on one another for attention. So, in the case of imports, we look to find the number one, number two, or number three volume brand in the home country. Okay, so if you look at our portfolio, just about every import brand we have is either one, two, or three leadership position. That means they have relevancy in the U.S. market. Okay, craft similar approach. We're looking for leadership brands like in their home market. Uinta's the number one craft brewery in Utah. Brooklyn, Captain Lawrence, they're obviously in a leadership position in the New York area as well. So, we vet a lot of brands, but it has to fit. And there's obviously voids to fill within our portfolio, and that's an area that we'll be focusing on in 2026. On the cider side, I will say with Woodchuck, Woodchuck and Widers from Vermont Cider Company, I mean, that's a national brand that, frankly, um, it's a huge opportunity for us to work with the VCC team to rebuild that business. And frankly, that's an area where, I don't think we want to add too many other ciders because that's a brand that has a lot of leg room.
Where you talk about filling those voids in 26, can you give us any hints as to where those voids are from an international brand perspective or craft perspective in the US, right? You talked about 1, 2, 3 positions. What do you not have? Can you give us any hints?
Oh, no, no hints. I will say that, there is an opportunity for sure within the THC space.
Hmm.
I will say, and now I'm kind of shifting outside of beer, and that's a pivot that U.S. Beverage made all in the past year. I mean, for 27 years, 28 years, we've been exclusively a beer company, beer, cider, FMB. But we made a pivot to get into spirits and build a spirits portfolio. With that comes the opportunity with THC, which I remain understanding all of the news that's been out the last couple of weeks. We as a company remain very bullish in that space and see an opportunity. And obviously, we see a consumer as well. So that is something in January. We will be announcing a partnership with a cluster of THC beverage brands that we're very excited about to bring to our distributors. End of the day, like our pivot beyond beer has been a result of distributors really kind of knocking on the door saying, listen, we've been working with you guys for 28 years. We love the beer portfolio you bring us. We want to deal with less suppliers, more brands. So bring us more brands, and we'll still have your one point of contact for your team. That was a sort of eureka moment, to be honest, and that's what got us into THC, and then first with spirits, and then the next step is THC.
Very interesting. Okay, so do I understand correctly that THC will kind of be part of the spirits division or like a Beyond Beer division, or how will that be partitioned out in your company?
A great question. It'll be managed by our spirits division. So
Okay.
we have two senior people. I have a director of brand development, Ken Affiero, who
Hmm.
is an industry veteran and has done a tremendous job putting together our spirits brands. And then Andrew Doby is our director of spirits and THC. He works sort of with Ken and is our point person on all spirits and THC. He has vast experience in this category, and they'll be the point people. That said, our sales team will sell the whole
Hmm.
portfolio. So it'll be beer, cider, spirits, and THC.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Does his name's Dobie? Does he ever get the doobie jokes?
I'm sure he gets a lot of them.
It's about to
So
get
yeah,
more. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
he's been a tremendous asset to us. And really, like for me with THC and the company position is there's so much more we can learn, and the better off our team can be educated on this product, the better off we will be, because to me 2026 is going to be all about educating the consumer on what THC is.
Yeah.
And we're at the early stages, right,
Yeah.
of this growing category. For me, it's as the regulation aspect is sort of worked through, it's incredibly important that we are educating our consumers on what they're getting with the product that they're buying.
Yeah, absolutely. And how many wholesalers do you all work with nationally?
Probably, I would say 250 to 300. I would say 125 do the bulk of our business.
Okay, got it. And
And
yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, with that, it's over 28 years, we've worked with a
Yeah.
lot of distributors, and we don't really have a cookie cutter approach on which sort of networks we pick. we take the brand and we look at our options for that market, and we make the decision on what distributor is best for that brand. You know, our best import distributor could be very different than our best craft distributor or cider distributor for that market. So
Yeah, that makes sense. That was going to be my next question, like whether you guys have a set network, and it sounds like not necessarily, but maybe for the certain segments. Yeah, and there's some sort of overlap and yeah, concentric circles and opposing and that and whatnot. So let's talk about a big timely question. I'm sure you knew you were going to get this. I have to ask about Rogue. Switching gears a little bit, because as we mentioned, you had a partnership with Rogue, and we were all very surprised in the last few weeks where all of a sudden, oh my gosh, they filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So I'm curious, did you see this coming at all? And do you think this is a symptom of something that's going to continue to happen in craft?
yeah, I would say that we shared the same surprise. I did not see it coming. For us, it was very disappointing, and I will say that because this was U.S. Beverage's sort of second go around with Rogue. We represented the brand back in the late '90s and helped them expand outside of Newport to a broader national footprint over a 4 or 5 year period. And Jack Joyce has been was a tremendous partner to U.S. Beverage, and frankly helped put us on the map back then. So um, for it to come full circle and have us take the brand back on in August of this year was extremely exciting for us because it was kind of a second go around. It's sad for all involved, and it's one that U.S. Beverage will move on from, and we wish the best of luck for all those that are affected by it. But it's from an industry standpoint, I hope there aren't more, of course. But understanding the challenges that are out in the market and the saturation across the country with breweries. I hope it's the last, but I'm not sure that it will be, unfortunately.
I wanted to ask about maybe some more kind of potentially upsetting news. I can you give an update on Malibu Splash?
Sure. The Malibu Splash was a tremendous brand for us. It was a partnership with Pernod Ricard. Our contract expired in early September. And at that time, Pernod Ricard, as the brand owner, made the decision to sunset the brand and focus on other areas within their business.
Okay. And F&B has been a big part of your business. What are you doing to try and maybe replace that? It was a successful brand, and so how are you looking to regain some ground there in F&B?
It's a void. Jen, you asked about voids. That's a void in our portfolio. We have this company has really been built on FMBs. We represented Seagram coolers for many years. We find that space incredibly opportunistic. We would be open to looking at more FMBs. I think as importantly, getting into the spirit RTD space is an opportunity for us as well. However, I think both can coexist because obviously the channel of trade is expanded on the FMB side, but obviously the sweet spot and the movement these days really is in the spirit side. So we're bullish on both categories and looking to fill that void for sure.
Yeah. Where do you see, going back to craft, where do you see Brooklyn going into new markets first, right? Because I think they're in more than half the states, but with your partnership, they will take it to all 50, right? So, especially in a market like this, how do you take such an established craft brand like them and put them in a new market where there's probably already some awareness. But as you had mentioned, marketing from the shelf, marketing in general, it's a different game now. So what's the playbook there?
It's a great question. I think it has to work in stages. I think we need to, and this is what we are doing with the Brooklyn team as we speak right now. It's solidifying the base, which is really where I'm sitting in the tri-state area. Um, you know, Getting an understanding of the brand over the next year or so. Focusing on the basics, focusing on distribution, really. And then from there, I think, there is tremendous opportunity to expand. I don't think it can happen all at once. I think we need to solidify what we have first, and then have a smart strategic plan on where we then place our next big bets. And that will happen sort of as a phase two, probably in the start of 2027.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, definitely phased.
Yes.
That's interesting. What else? I mean, you shared some big news about you all getting into THC next year. What other sort of news or hints or just outlook can you share for your company in 26 and beyond?
I think we're bullish. We talk about it all the time. Within these walls, that the industry is at this sort of area of uncertainty. We love it. We breathe it. We need to be positive. We need to look at the positive things that are happening. And there's a lot of great positivity out there. That's number one. Number two, we have to get back to speaking to the consumer. And I think, post COVID, we moved away from the consumer a bit. And I think it's now time to re-engage, talk about the sociability of beer, talk about the sociability of spirits. People are going out more. That's a fantastic thing for this industry. We need to capitalize on that, right? And these other add-on elements like THC can coexist with beer. That doesn't have to be siloed. So, um, you know, we're on a push. We have 54 people in this company that are on the positivity push of getting out and preaching beer and the great aspects of it, and doing the same for spirits, and obviously with THC as well. So um, there'll be a couple other exciting announcements from the company. I would say in the next 6 months or so, but we'll save those for another conversation.
Well, that's perfect because we like to check in with our guests every 6 months. So we'll
Great.
get the summer check in and you can break that news here, Justin.
Would love to do that.
Awesome. Well, I think that's most of what we had to ask. Do you all have anything else?
I was just gonna ask real quick on that last point you made, just the emphasis you all might be putting on the on-premise and expanding some of these brands and trying to build some of these brands further away from home. It seems like the on-premise channel has been a little more stable than
Yeah.
the off-premise, and there seems to be more of an emphasis back on that channel now with COVID kind of in the rear view.
100%, and that's a benefit to our portfolio, particularly on the import side. Our draft numbers are very strong for many of our brands, both import and craft. I think our segue into spirits, adding a brand like Row 94 whiskey from Dirks Bentley, adding Sammy Hagar's Beach Bar rum. Those are brands that need to be built up the on premise. So that forces our team to get into the on-premise and be able to push a full portfolio of not only beer brands but also exciting spirit brands. So it's a core initiative for 2026 for our company to win on the on-premise. And I think if you do that, obviously you guys know it as well as I do, there's ripple effect to the off-premise as well.
Uh, just one more after you said that. What has been your kind of thoughts on distributors taking on spirits? Are you surprised at you know how that has gone? Like, has it surpassed your expectations and their capabilities with spirits so far?
I think, well, frankly,
Or
that's why we got into it, right? So that opened the door for U.S. Beverage. I understand 100%, why they're doing it, and it's the same reason we are. It's a it broadens our offering. It also gives us a greater, profit, frankly, particularly on the spirit side. So I think that's attractive to distributors as well because it, increases their profit pool. Whereas, potentially, there could be a erosion on the beer side. So I don't see that slowing down. I think the right brands with the right marketing support behind them on the spirit side will have success within the what we used to call the beer network, right? So to me, it's a bit of an evolution of distributors, getting into more items to fill up more trucks, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah. And you touched on this a little bit earlier, but you just mentioned Sammy Hagar and Dirk Bentley. Are you guys looking at sort of personality or celebrity driven brands in the spirit space as sort of white space, or does that just happen to be the kinds of brands that you've brought on because they resonate in the on premise?
Well, I would say that, celebrity brands are, from my past experience, they can be incredibly valuable because of the built-in consumer equity. But when you have someone like Dirk Bentley and Sammy Hagar who go above and beyond to push their brand and work with our sales team to make their brand a success without hesitation, then you have a built-in marketing plan. You couple that with, Sammy having a concert, his residency in Las Vegas, built-in concerts. You have, Dirk Bentley having a, multi-city tour with his shows. You have automatic, marketing there, which we have utilized and been very successful. But it comes down to the celebrities, and both Dirks and Sammy have been incredible with their pushing of their brands. That helps us. It makes our job a lot easier. So.
That makes sense. Yeah. And I'm sure your mileage varies depending on, to your point, the celebrity and how invested they are in building that brand, right?
These are the two sort of celebrity brands we've worked with, and it's been like we've gone two for two. So would I consider another celebrity brand? Of course, but we've got Dirks and Sammy have sort of set the standard as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, yeah. And then I have one more kind of random question. Sorry, Jay. You had one more question. Now I'm gonna have one more question.
absolutely.
Um, we mentioned earlier the outlook for the Hispanic consumer in the U.S. and what they're doing. I don't know if you saw, Justin. We covered some of Lester Jones's thoughts about the Canadian consumers and how they're not buying as much American or as in America as much anymore, and then that's a huge headwind to Bevalc in America, especially with your purview. You have some Canadian brands. Do you think that's a real issue, or maybe it's a very small one?
To me, it's not a concern for our situation. Moosehead is a sixth generation owned leadership brand. It's an icon. I think it's an icon in Canada, and frankly, it's been a very sizable brand in the U.S. market for a long time. I think consumers gravitate towards stories more so than getting caught up in the politics of everything. So it's not a concern of ours at all, and frankly, it's not one that we've really been faced with all of these sort of headwinds of Canada and the U.S. over the past 12 months.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Justin, so much for all your candid insights, and we'll see you out there soon and check in with you in June or July.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you for your support, and looking forward to a strong 2026 for all of us.
for
Absolutely.
sure.
All right.
Awesome.
Enjoyed it.
Cheers.
Thank you.
See you guys.